When you hear the name Nikola Tesla, what comes to mind? Probably this larger-than-life genius, right? The man who literally tamed lightning, who dreamed up the entire electrical world we all live in. But this explainer, we're not talking about the legend. We're going to talk about the man and where that brilliant, kind of chaotic mind took him in his final years. Yeah, and you can hear it in his own words from when he was at his peak. He talked about this incredible thrill, this fire that an inventor feels. A feeling so powerful it makes you forget everything else. Food, sleep, friends, love, everything. He basically gave the world his entire mind. And it cost him. Well, it cost him everything. And that's the thing, isn't it? You'd expect a guy like that to end his days in some triumphant, state-of-the-art laboratory. But that's not what happened. Not even close. His final years were spent in silence. The man who electrified whole cities, who imagined this world where we're all connected wirelessly, he would end up spending his last decades profoundly, tragically, alone. So how on earth did that happen? All right, let's get into it. Section 1, a solitary genius. From public acclaim to private isolation. To really get a sense of how deep his retreat was, you first have to understand just how high he flew. I mean, just look at this list. Nikola Tesla. We're talking about the polyphase AC motor. That's the engine of modern industry. The Tesla Coil, which was absolutely key to figuring out radio, remote control, radio itself. His inventions weren't just clever gadgets. They were the very foundation of the modern world. It's no exaggeration to say he was the father of the 20th century, a true giant. And here's where the story just takes this sharp, sad turn. This giant, this man who saw the future of global power grids, of wireless energy for everyone, he ended up living out his final years in a single hotel room. Not some big mansion, not a fancy lab, just room 3327 of the Hotel New Yorker. Okay, so to really get a handle on his isolation, we have to look inside his head. And his mind, well, it was operating on a totally different level, governed by these really rigid, unshakable patterns. And right at the very center of it all was a number, the number 3. And this wasn't just, a lucky number or a preference. For Tesla, 3 was an absolute law. It governed every single thing he did. And I mean everything. These weren't just little quirks. They were rituals he absolutely could not break. He would literally walk around a city block 3 times before he could make himself go into a building. He had to wash his hands 3 times in a row. At dinner, he would use exactly 18 napkins, which, you guessed it, is a multiple of 3, to polish his silverware until it was perfect. He even felt this compulsion to calculate the cubic volume of his food before he could eat it. It's just wild. His whole life was filtered through this obsessive-compulsive lens. Okay, and as we dive even deeper into Tesla's mind, just a quick heads up from us. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on that notification bell, and share and like our content. It really does help us keep exploring these kinds of complex stories. And just so you know, all the info in this explainer is compiled from open sources. Thanks a bunch. So this brings us to the really big question, right? Where do you draw the line? Were these just the eccentric habits of a one-of-a-kind genius? Or were they something darker? Like the desperate coping mechanisms of a mind that was starting to spiral out of control. Right, and as these compulsions started to build these invisible walls between him and other people, he began to look for companionship somewhere else entirely. Not with humans, but with a society of a different kind. And this became his new focus, his new life's work. The man who used to talk with captains of industry and the greatest scientific minds of his time, he now spent his days with the Pigeons of New York City. In them, he found a kind of connection that he just couldn't find with people anymore. And his dedication was meticulous, to say the least. He'd spend hours out there feeding them, getting to know them as individuals. The hotel staff must have thought he was crazy. He'd have the hotel kitchen prepare these special seed mixes just for them. And if he found a pigeon that was sick or hurt, he would sneak it back up to room 3327, basically turning his hotel suite into a bird hospital. But even among the thousands of birds he cared for, there was one that was different from all the rest. One that became, as he put it, the very center of his world. You can just hear the tenderness when he described her. He said, "I have been feeding pigeons, thousands of them, for years. But there was one, a beautiful bird, pure white with light gray tips on its wings. That one was different. He didn't see just another bird. To him, she was special. He truly believed they had a unique, almost telepathic connection. And this next quote, it might be the most revealing thing Tesla ever said about his inner life. Remember, this is a man who avoided all romantic relationships, who poured every ounce of himself into his work. And yet he said, I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loved me. As long as I had her, there was a purpose to my life. Wow. It opens a window into this incredibly deep, desperate loneliness, doesn't it? He found a purpose in her that his amazing inventions just couldn't give him anymore. And then came the night that changed absolutely everything. He tells this story about how she flew into his room, deathly ill. And as he's holding her, he claimed he saw something miraculous. He said 2 powerful beams of light came from her eyes. A light, he said, that was brighter than anything he had ever created in his lab. And in that instant, as the light faded and she died right there in his hands, Tesla said he knew. He believed she had come to tell him his life's work was finished. He felt like the light of his own genius, his own purpose, went out with hers. So after the death of this one dove, Tesla lived for another 2 decades. But he was different. He was just a ghost, really, haunting the halls of that hotel, sinking deeper and deeper into isolation. Yeah, you can really just draw a straight line from that night in 1922. His purpose was just gone. Through the 30s, he became even more of a recluse. His money problems got worse and worse. And then finally, on January 8th, 1943, Nikola Tesla, 86 years old, was found dead, all alone in the room that had been both his sanctuary and his prison. The irony is it's staggering when you lay it all out. Here's the man who gave the world AC power, and he died completely broke. The visionary who imagined a wirelessly connected planet died completely alone. The inventor with hundreds of world-changing patents had all his papers seized by the government, who called him an alien, even though he'd been a proud American citizen for over 50 years. It's just a tragedy, which really just leaves us with one final haunting question. His genius, he gave that to the world, to all of us. We live in the world he dreamed up. But the man himself? Who did he belong to? In the end, it seems like the only answer he could find, there in the quiet of room 3327, was a gentle, white-winged dove.